I have something to share as a slide and then me as a presentation, and then we move forward from there. So many times as a project manager, we are working in a project and we may not clearly aware that there is an environment around us which is influencing us. So we are aware or not aware, but we are always influenced by the environment. When the project start producing deliverable, it may start influencing the environment back as well. But we need to deal with our environment when we are working in the project. Environment could be the internal environment, which is specific to your organization. And we also need to deal with external environment, which is not specific to your organization, but it is prevailing in the global environment where you are working in your country, in the overall space where we are working. That's an external environment. Some examples could be the internal environment. You can say that the policies your organization follows, maybe a management you have. If you are going through some merger and acquisition, you have a big environment change. You need to consider that. If your organization is going through some transformation, many times nowadays people are going for agile transformation, digital transformation, that also brings a big environment change, or you need to consider that environment. The type of people you have in the organization, the type of mindset they have related to risk, related to project management, related to milestone, all that is environment. The type of industry you work in. Sometimes if you're working in the digital space, you find a lot of dynamic changes happening. If you're working in a little infrastructure space, you may not find that kind of dynamic environment there. So that's an internal environment. The external environment is more to do with the economic, the like geographical environment, the temperature, the global warming, the rain, the market, the skills availability in the country. So that's also an environment. The political environment, political stability, not stability, geopolitical situations, all those are environment. The government laws, the government compliances which you need to adhere to, changes in those government laws. Those laws might be related to manpower practices, people working, or could be a product related practices as well. So we need to deal with our external environment as well. So the question is, now I am focusing on as a project manager and as a PMP exam test taker, what should I consider? What should I worry about? Yeah, when it deals with external environment, internal environment. So we can say the external environment influences the internal environment, and that influences our business case. So in a way, before even project comes into existence, there is an environment assessment has been done. The profitability we see, the opportunity the organization has explored, and they want to make sure that this opportunity makes sense for us to invest money in. Good amount of environment assessment has been done before even the business case has been approved for initiating the project. Your role primarily as a project manager starts once the project get initiated. You call it project charter or something, but before that the organization is doing their own assessment. If you're working against the contract, yeah, someone gives you a contract and you initiate the project, then also you can say that they have done enough environmental assessment to come to a stage where they want to get some work done from you. So they have done their own environmental assessment. Now, from a PMP exam perspective, we can say, yeah, this is an environment assessment, but is there any tool, is there any mechanism by which we can do this kind of environment assessment in the starting and also we continue doing it? So there are various tools which you end up referring when you are dealing with the PMP exam, but I would say they are more like a reminder. This is like, oh, why don't you think about this area, why don't you think about that area, so that as a project manager, as a group, we can do an assessment of where we are working. The most commonly used, most of us who are doing project management, even without PMP exam, might be aware of, we call it SWOT analysis. So maybe when we are initiating the business case or when we are starting our project, we need to understand that what kind of strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats we are dealing with. The SWOT analysis talks about the interaction of external and internal capabilities or environment. You can say that what are our internal strengths, what are our internal weaknesses. What weakness, strength talks about what kind of skills we have, what kind of experience we have, what we can do better than others. That's your continuous or internal strength. But when you talk about that, what are our internal weaknesses? Maybe you lack a particular knowledge, particular skill, particular geographical reach, a particular skill in a particular domain. Those could be your weaknesses. And then you see what are the external opportunities, what the market is trending towards, where you see the big investment is coming, where you see a big demand is growing, what kind of customers are buying more, what kind of customers are possibly giving you more revenue. So you see an opportunity which is not directly related to you but might be happening in the industry. Now you want to exploit that opportunity. You say that that's happening. Why don't I also make something out of it? And what kind of a threats you see? Maybe decline in the technology or rapid change of a technology, or maybe a competitors are more aggressive than you, they are more capable than you, maybe. So all those threats which are coming outside. So you can say the opportunities and threats are purely external, and strength and weaknesses are internal, and we do an assessment of this to help us in identifying how do we organize ourselves so that we achieve a business value. So that's a one particular tool which might be referred in your PMP exam content, and you can say, okay, this is the overall objective of it. You may not have to conduct SWOT analysis for a PMP exam, but you need to understand in which context it is done and how it helps us in doing the environmental and internal assessment so that we are ready for achieving the business value. Then the another word which comes usually in the PMI official content, the PESTLE analysis. It is again a reminder. You can say you can look at these six dimensions. You can focus on the political, economical, social, cultural, technical, legal, and natural environment. And these things, if you look into these categories or these areas, you probably come to know what is working and what is happening in the environment, primarily focusing on external environment analysis, which can help you in doing assessment of opportunities and threat. So you can say we can use these two tools together. I may do a PESTLE analysis, which help us in identifying what kind of environmental change, the geographical or a physical environment change is giving us an opportunity, or what are those giving us a threats, what kind of political change are coming as an opportunity, coming as a threats, and that kind of analysis can be done. Now, as a project manager, you may not be driving it, yeah, because it's too much focus on external work. You are more like an execution guy. You need to understand the business, but you may not be the one who can do it before even the project gets started. So the people who are working in the business case area, the portfolio group, or whoever is initiating your project, they will do it for you. Yeah, that's the initial thing, and based on that, they will initiate that particular work for you. Now, the thing is, once you have it, when you're planning your project, yeah, be it adaptive way of working or be it predictive way of working, you need to consider these environmental factor. Some of these environmental factors are creating a limitation for you. Say you can't work with a one particular country because that's an environmental restriction for you. Some of the environmental factor you need to keep eye on, because achieving the business result may be a function of environment. You see an opportunity of growing demand, but if that changes, you may not be able to achieve business value even if you deliver your project. So, as a project manager, my role is I do an understanding of what is my business value and which environment we are working in. And when I do my planning, I consider all those factors. I discuss with my stakeholders to get a better understanding of it, but I plan with enterprise environmental factor. Now, if you are talking a PMBOK language, if you talk about PMBOK 6 and all, in each planning process, yeah, which are no more coming in the exam, but it helps you in understanding it, you have an input called enterprise environmental factor, primarily to tell that whatever you are doing as a project manager, as a planning, you need to consider the environmental factor. So I, as a project manager, plan with environmental consideration, internal and external. That's what I have to do. Once it is done, then I need to do a periodic assessment of environment. Say, you can say in the beginning, you have done it, you worked it and you picked up the data from your people and the stakeholder. But what is after 1 month? What is happening after 2 months? I need to keep eye on the critical environmental factor, especially the one which are very critical for my business success. So periodically, we need to do an environmental assessment. Now, how do you do it? You can use similar tools like SWOT and PESTLE thing. In the adaptive life cycle, you might be doing it with the help of iteration reviews, minimum business increment, MVPs. So you can say, if I'm using adaptive way of working, at the end of each iteration, we have a continuous interaction with the stakeholders. We may also want to do a real assessment of environment by pushing a one increment in the market and really capturing what the stakeholders are thinking by way of giving them partial delivery or by giving them things to experiment. So I assess how my assumptions related to environments are true, how the environment taste is changing by way of launching MVP or giving increment, minimum business increment. Now, what is MVP, MBI? In your PMP, you end up learning all these words. We do have a block explaining it, but I'm not getting into detail. In a simple way, we can say we give some incremental deliver, which help us seeing how the customer is reacting to it, how they are responding to it, and how can possibly we can adjust ourselves so that we achieve our objective. So in the adaptive life cycle, you focus on MVPs and MBI. In a predictive life cycle also, you may do frequent milestone reviews depending upon your overall uncertainty and thing. And during milestone reviews, or you may do it a periodic review, cadence-based reviews every 1 month, every 2 months. And those reviews may also not only focus on project performance, but they also focus on, let's talk about how the environment is responding, and do we have a say consistent business case which will help us in achieving our business value. So we should focus on looking at our environmental assessment on a periodic basis. That is your job as a project manager when you are facilitating reviews, be it a MVP review or be it a milestone review, adaptive predictive. You need to remind and capture the inputs which are coming from various stakeholders related to the scanning of the environment. Now, what if things are not working? We need to keep adapting. That's the whole thing. We need to keep changing. If the environment is changing, if we assume something will work and it's not working, we need to do a change. Now, somebody will say, oh, change? Can I initiate a change? Yes. In a predictive life cycle, you may make your stakeholder see that, guys, the world is changed. It is no more the same where we started with. The things are becoming different. New technology has come, new government law has come. We can't continue comply with the previous law anymore. If we don't do it, we won't be able to sell our product in the market. So whenever I discover that things are different, I need to make it visible. I make it visible to my stakeholder, and depending upon my change process, I may initiate a change request in a predictive life cycle. In the adaptive life cycle, by way of having my iteration review, by way of reviewing MVP, by way of reviewing MPI, if things are working in a different direction, we do expect they work in a different direction because we are following adaptive life cycle, because we are expecting a lot of changes. We do our backlog refinement. So continuous backlog refinement done in your adaptive way of working, which helps you in adjusting your direction based on the new learning, new environmental changes. And by doing it, you are focusing on delivering value rather than deliver value. I would say it should be a delivering value, because even in a predictive life cycle, we should not assume the value will only come at the end. We do want to see as many time as incrementally we can deliver value, because by really delivering value, we also understand how the environment is really responding to our product or services. So this is a small topic, which is your PMP exam topic. Like last time, I want to show you how it relates to your PMP exam by way of showing you PMP exam content outline. I take the long path because I believe many of you may not be aware of this PMP exam outline, and how easily it can help you in preparing well for your PMP exam. So I show you the whole long path. Yeah, so you go to PMI website, you go to PMP page, and there you can scroll down and you can find the PMP exam content outline. So download it. That's an important thing for you to focus on. Yeah, so that's a thing. I just want to see if it is, yes, visible to you. Yes, great. So I can say that, yeah, this is the outline. I think my topic is around the business domain, around page number 14. So I'm directly going there rather than scrolling. And what I spoke, you know, I was speaking about at this particular topic. Yeah, that was the intent, at least from my side. I was trying to show a task three of business domain. So what it is telling as a project manager, it is instructing a project manager that, it's your job to do these things. So evaluate and address external business environmental changes for impact on scope. Yeah, so you can say that you have a business value, you have a project charter, you have done your planning. You need to continuously evaluate the environmental changes, business environmental changes, or other environmental changes you need to keep focusing on. Now, how do I do it? Some ideas: survey changes to external business environment, example, regulation, technology, geopolitical, market. So, periodically, you assess how things are happening. Maybe you do a study, you may conduct some surveys, maybe you launch an MVP and see how things are changing. Maybe you keep discussing with your stakeholder on various periodic milestones or a periodic frequency to understand how the world is changing. So you keep listening, and your listening is basically driven by your business case, because you need to deliver a business case. You need to keep assessing your environment. Assess and prioritize impact on project scope, backlog based on the changes in the external business environment. So as you see, something is going different than initially assumed or initially planned for. I need to adapt my direction. So it's not me saying, it's that PMI exam content outline saying. And recommend option for scope, backlog change, schedule, cost change. So whatever, based on your assessment, you do a recommendation, usually done in the format of change request in case of predictive life cycle, in the format of backlog refinement in case of adaptive life cycle. So you recommend option for scope slash backlog changes. And then you continuously review external business environment for impact on project scope and backlog. So the idea here is, it is not that I have been given a scope, I have been told that this is what we have to work on, and only my stakeholder can raise a change request. My job is just blindly follow the scope. So that thinking we have to remove for PMP exam. My job is just not to follow the scope blindly. I need to focus on how do I deliver a value. That's your value delivery domain. And yes, I need to deliver a deliverable, but if that deliverable is not meeting the current environment expectation, I need to make it visible. I can't just change it blindly. I need to make it visible. I need to consult with expert. I need to share that this data is not going as per our assumption. Probably we need to do something about it, because our goal is just not to deliver a deliverable. Our goal is deliver a deliverable which help our organization to achieve the business benefit. So focus on value. I stick to that particular principle, and we remind it that, yeah, this is your business domain topic.